Everywhere GBS. Hello viewer, welcome to Women's View. I'm your host Anne Murimi, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Remember, you can watch this show live on YouTube. The handle is GBS TV Kenya. Kindly subscribe so that you can be able to follow live as well as have a look at our previous shows. Today is a very interesting day. We have a guest in studio and we're going to be discussing something that's very interesting. And before I tell you what the topic is, I'd like her to introduce herself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi viewer, my name is Mary Shaira, a born-again Christian. I am self-employed and also a student at the moment, and I'm happy to be here.
Welcome to the show, Mary Shaira.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Mary is with us today, and the topic today is growing up in a single parent family or home. Many times we have had this conversation, but we tend to focus on the single moms or the single dads, the single parent, and we look at the challenges they go through raising a child by themselves, the circumstances that led to them being a single parent. But a lot of times we've not been able to look at this story from a different angle, which is from the perspective of the children. And so Mary is with me in studio to be able to tell us what her experience was growing up. And yeah, I believe it's going to be very interesting and very, quite, yeah, just hearing the story from the other side.
Oh yes.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And first of all, thank you for coming.
Thank
A lot of times you'll find that people tend to be very private about these issues,
Yes.
which is understandable because they are very deep-seated and deep-rooted. But I also think that sharing your story is very important to people who are going through it.
Yes.
They're able to relate, they're able to realize maybe what they're going through is not so unique. If there's anyone who is feeling very low about it, they can actually realize, hi, this is something that I can overcome, you know? Yeah. So anyway, before we get to that, tell us a little bit about yourself. You said you're self-employed.
Yes.
What
Yes.
industry are you in? What business?
I'm a fashion designer. I run a business.
Yes.
And I thank God for that.
So basically, the outfit you're wearing, you designed it yourself.
I do dress myself.
Yeah,
I am
that's
my own
nice.
designer.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you ever wear something you've not designed? Do you buy outfits? of
Oh
course?
yes, at times I do.
But
At
most
times I
times,
do, but most times,
Yes.
especially for special events, I will do my own designs.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, apart from that, I am also a social media marketer. So
That's
I
true.
manage other people's pages
Yeah.
apart from my own page.
Yeah.
Yes.
And social media has become is a very powerful marketing tool nowadays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, today, to run a business, you must have that online presence.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you can actually manage without it. Because people will
It's
always
almost
ask you.
becoming
It's
impossible.
impossible. Yeah, what's your
Yes.
website? Are you on Facebook? They want to see your products.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. And you're still in school at the same time.
Yes, I'm still in school.
I mean,
doing a postgraduate
Yes.
in mass communication,
yeah.
and it is not easy.
I know you're juggling a lot of things.
Yes, but
and you're successful. That's awesome.
I thank God.
A big shout out to now. We're talking about you're growing up. You're raised in a single home.
Yes,
Tell us a
specifically by a single mother.
by a single mom.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, when you see a successful child, of course, you always have to look back to the mom.
Yes,
Because it looks like by the fact that you're just very hardworking, very creative.
I have taken that from my mother.
Yeah, so a big shout out to your mom.
Hi, mom.
I'm sure she's going to be watching this.
Yes.
Is she comfortable with you talking about this? Out of curiosity.
Yeah.
More or less.
She might be hearing some things from me for the first time, but I believe that because this is coming at a time when we have been able to talk about this now,
Yes, exactly.
I think it would also help her.
Yeah, it would also help.
to also understand me.
Yes.
Yeah, she wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself growing up.
Well, growing up, I was born in Nyeri County.
Yes.
And since birth, I have only known my mother as a parent.
Yes.
Yes. And we were two when we were growing up.
What's the gap?
My
Are you the first
brother-
one or the second one?
No, I am the second and last born.
Oh, you're the second, so you have
Yes.
an elder brother.
I have an elder brother.
Okay.
Yes, he's called Jack.
All right.
We have a gap of about 5 years.
Oh,
Yes.
so you grew up looking up to him as a big brother for a lot of things.
Yeah, I am not sure.
Because 5 years is a lot, you know. By the time you're finishing, like, let's say your class 8, he was already done with high school.
Yes, but the problem was, a challenge was, we kept changing schools.
Okay.
So at one time he's in another school, I'm in another school. And so I can't say in our upbringing we really grew up together
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
like siblings. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so that gap. But I thank God because with time we have been able
To connect.
to connect.
Yeah.
And we are doing good.
And at some point you lived together when you came
Actually,
to
I talked to
Nairobi.
him this morning. No, I called him last night and he
Okay.
knew I was coming for this show.
Okay.
And he knows what I'll be talking about.
That's nice.
And probably he's watching. I will-
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, so here you are, you were born, you started going to school. At
Yes.
what point did you notice that your family, you're from a single, you live with a single mom, and that there's, did you ever notice that there was a gap in terms of a father?
Well, I will say it actually got into my head when other kids in school would ask me, we have never heard you talk of your father. We have never seen your father. We always know your mother.
Yes.
And I start to realize, oh yeah, that I think there's something missing here.
Yes.
But you see, at that time, it becomes difficult because you have so many questions, but you do not know who to ask.
Exactly.
Because my mother at that time, I can now confidently talk about it because it's no longer the case.
Yes.
She was a bit tough, like tough about everything.
Yes.
Like I grew up knowing a tough mother,
Yes.
but it's only now that I'm able to understand what she was going through.
Yes.
I wouldn't understand that time.
At that point, you wouldn't be able to understand.
I wouldn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can understand her challenge, not 100%, but in a way, because here you are, you have 2 children,
Yes.
you have got to raise them,
Yes.
you've got to take care of their education, you've got to take care of their upbringing, as well as your own. And I can imagine that it was, no wonder she had to be tough.
She had to be tough,
Yeah.
and probably because of what she was also going through. Having a broken, let me say, a broken marriage.
Yes.
No parent wants to go through that. It's not
Exactly.
easy. And maybe I can start by saying, now, you see, the frustrations she goes through, unfortunately, she ends up, pouring it on us now.
That's true, because of not
Yes.
having
She doesn't
an
have
outlet.
any. She doesn't have any other outlet
Yeah.
because we are the children now living with her.
Yes.
So whenever she's frustrated, probably she couldn't also notice.
I don't think she would. And you know
Yes.
what? That thing of transferring, it happens a lot. That even when you're in a family where both parents are there,
Yeah.
if one of them is having a lot of stress, let's say at the office, sometimes you're not able to show that frustration to your boss
Yes,
because
yes,
of the boundaries
yes,
and
yes.
the difference. So now sometimes you tend to come and transfer it to your home.
To your
So
home.
now,
yes.
even in her situation, maybe it was something like that. She was frustrated by maybe the marriage not working out, by the challenges of trying to make a living for the 3 of you. And so she'd bring it home. But now at home, it was you and your brother. the
Yeah, there's
children.
no
There was
spouse.
adult.
There's no
spouse
adult.
to
There's no spouse to.
get it.
Yeah,
And
to
at least
pound
reduce
so-
it. It
yes.
comes directly to you.
Exactly.
So you must have found yourself sometimes in awkward situations where your mom is like really sharing. You don't know what to say.
I actually feared my mother. Fear is the word. I feared my mother the whole time. So even most of the things I didn't do growing up, it was because I feared my mother.
Yes.
If I knew I will do something and she's going to be upset, it had to keep me on toes, you know.
You would tread a little bit on eggshells, sort of, just trying not
Yes.
to upset her because she was already in a very like a tense situation.
Exactly. And so it was not easy,
Yes.
especially when you're having to handle something that you honestly do not have an understanding of.
About that.
And then you don't know who to ask. You at first you cannot even ask her sisters, your aunties now, because you do not know. You fear that you might ask one of them, and then they might.
It gets back to her.
It gets back to her,
and then back to you,
and then back to me. Like, why
in a
were
very
you
weird
asking
way.
her? You get it,
I
huh?
get
So, and I'm telling you, it is. I would encourage every parent, because these are things that we have to live with. We cannot avoid them.
Yes.
Of course, at times we can if we can. But should you find yourself in that situation, at least make sure that you explain to your kids what is happening.
Yes.
Just, it is important to tell them. It is important to answer these questions even before they ask.
Because they're already there. Just that
Yes.
the fact that they've not been verbalized does not mean that the questions are not there.
They are there.
So assume the question has been asked and start answering.
And now you know it is more depressing
Yes.
when you have questions but you do not know where to take them. You don't know who to ask. You don't know where to direct them. But then the world there has demands.
Yes.
They are
demanding
asking
answers,
me.
you know?
Yes, they are asking me. And you know, kids in school will be so innocent.
And they are so uncensored, and there's no political
Yes.
correctness. It's like,
They will not sugarcoat anything.
Shaira,
They'll just
you
be
told
like,
tell
hey.
us only about your mom. How come you don't talk
Exactly.
about your dad?
Until now, there's a point, changing schools, there's a point I found myself now in a boarding school.
Yes.
And another thing, I've mentioned about change of schools.
Yes.
It was also related to the same. Because at one time we had to first grow up with our grandmother.
Okay.
Because now she's alone, she's not able, you know, to have us, and then she's working, and you know, she was not employed.
Of course,
she's just doing small businesses to try and support us. But it gets to that point where,
So at some point you grew up with your grandma, in the
yes.
early stages especially, so that
Yes.
you'd work
Up
and
to
send
class
money
3.
for- Yeah, okay.
up to class 3, until a point where maybe now they feel, no, this is the baggage on our mother, you know.
And they also miss you.
Yes.
You know, as a parent, as a mom, you miss your children. You want to be with them.
Yeah, and so at some point she had to get us so
Yes.
that now we can start living with her in her small house.
So now when you're with your grandma, was your
Yes.
granddad around?
No,
Okay.
he had passed on by the time I was born.
Oh, he had passed on.
Yeah.
So even
So
when
again,
you-
there was no father figure there.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is because in some situations,
Yes.
I find that sometimes single moms actually let the grandparents raise their children.
Yes.
And most times, not always, there is a grandfather and a grandmother, in which case it sort of tends to balance
It
out.
works.
Yeah.
It works.
But in your case, your granddad had passed away, so that advantage also was sort of missed out.
Yeah. By the time I was born, he had passed on. So again,
And you know
I
what?
didn't
Let's
get
talk
to
a little
meet
bit
him.
about how single parents' families occur. Because, you know, sometimes I feel like single parents tend to be stigmatized, which is not good.
Yes,
Because, you know, sometimes
yes.
you find yourself in that
Yes.
situation because of, let's say, death of a spouse and you've not remarried. So
Yes.
here you are, you're a widow or a widower. Or it could be because of divorce and you again not remarried. It could also be because of unplanned pregnancy. You know, you find yourself pregnant and you had
Yes.
not planned for it. So you and that tends to be the most
you
common,
find
know.
yourself.
So those are the various scenarios that raise the issue of single parents. And you know, we're not trying to stigmatize the single parents. We're just trying to understand how it is from the children's point of view.
Exactly. Talking about stigma, I would say lately when now my mother was sharing with me her experiences and all that she had to go through, I can tell that that stigma thing is there.
It's real.
It is real. Because she could tell me of instances where she tried maybe to join, you know, those chamas. And then they would be like, no, she cannot join us. She's just going to take loans and she'll not be able to pay. And then she's going to bring us problems, you know, such things. And then
How
at times,
unfortunate, yes.
now later because through God's grace, she was able to educate us. it got to a point where some people could question, hey, how is she able to raise, to educate two,
Rumors now
yes,
start
two
flying.
children, how she must be stealing our money from our chamas and
my.
things like that, or maybe there are some weird things she's doing to get money,
Yes.
and you're the one who has lived with her in the house and you have seen her struggle.
Her hard work.
You
her
have seen
diligence,
her hard work.
Yes.
Because I can say I have seen it. You have seen her deny herself, so that you people can survive. And so it also, when she shares that with me, it also affects me a lot. And
In
so
what way? How it affects you?
It affects me.
You feel like you're
because
responsible, or
at some point you feel like you're the reason she had to go through all this.
yeah,
And
I can
then
imagine,
in
yes.
part you almost have grudges with these people who mistreated her.
Yeah, exactly. You also want to latch out at
Exactly.
them.
Others will make her feel like, you couldn't keep a man. You were not able to work out your marriage. And so in the process, you're giving us a burden. Especially now at that point where we had to live with my grandmother.
With your grandma, yes.
Yeah, maybe the siblings, I mean now, maybe the aunties, the uncles, they would be tempted to feel you're giving our mother, now my grandmother, a burden.
A burden.
Can
She
you
should
just
be alone enjoying
yes,
her old age?
Exactly.
Yes.
And so she had to just move in with us at some point. And I had mentioned that eventually I got into a boarding school in class 6.
Yes.
And that's when this thing really affected me, because we used to have the visiting days.
Yes.
And so we have people coming, and on visiting days we are having mom and dad for someone.
Oh, yes.
And so they are wondering, how come your dad is not coming? And I had so much pressure. And then at that time I just had to lie.
You created a story. It's so amazing
I
how
had to
children
get a
were able to do that.
Yes, I used to,
So
it
what
is
was
so
your story?
real. I told them, you know what, my dad got an accident and he died on the spot.
Yeah.
And this is a dad I have never seen. I'm
That
not
was clever
even sure.
It settles the matter
Yes,
once and for all.
Because I thought if I tell him, I don't know he's where, they will keep asking when he's So I had to get an answer that,
a final story.
A final story.
Stop disturbing me about it.
Stop disturbing me. Actually, up to that point, I had never known that my surname, the one I still have on my ID, is not my dad. I always thought maybe that's my dad, but whatever happened. I do not know, because I don't know what to say. But only to learn later that my surname is actually my grandfather's, my late grandfather's.
Did you find that maybe your surname and your mom's surname was the same? Maybe
That's what made me find out. Because I used to wonder, how come we share the same surname with my...
Yes, with your mom.
Yes. At some point, maybe I thought maybe my dad and my grandfather
had the same name.
Have the
All
same
these
name.
questions are in your mind.
Yes, they're in my name. Sorry,
And you
in
have
my
nowhere
mind.
to
But I do
vent
not.
out.
I don't know who to ask. I can't ask my brother, because probably he's in the dark like I am. And then, like I've mentioned, we grew up apart at some point.
That's true.
When I went into a boarding school, it was a girls-only school, so my brother was elsewhere. So most of the time, we never grew up together. And even on holidays, my mom was this kind of a woman who wanted to feel that every moment you're in school, you're schooling.
busy.
So even on holidays, by the time I'm coming for holiday, she has booked me in for tuition.
I know.
Yes.
She's trying to keep you busy. She also doesn't want you to fall.
Exactly. So there is no one time I can say we had that, brother-sister relationship when we were growing up. And it was a challenge.
Yes.
So now let me go back to where I went for the boarding. They keep asking me, and so I'm telling them. And that thing used to heartbreak me a lot.
Because it's a lie that it's like you have to believe the lie yourself.
And then I used to ask me, what if this father comes up at some point?
Will you say he resurrected? So there's that fear. Oh my God, will he not show up now?
And then at some point, because way later now, I was to now later find out that actually my brother knows our dad. He has actually met my dad when he was a little boy. I think yeah, he had a privilege of, you know, like interaction with
For
him
a long
bit-
period or
bit.
just for a short time?
A short time though.
Short time, okay.
Yes.
And you could remember?
No, now this is from someone telling me, him sharing, not that I was there to experience.
Yes.
You see, we have
There's
an
that
age
gap,
gap, yeah.
yes.
So I may not even know at what point, yeah. But I know there was that time.
Okay.
So at some point, I'm not even sure whether this man that I was finally shown that he's my dad. I'm not sure that he's my dad, and his dad as well. Because again,
that's another thing.
Yes.
By the way, you know, there's so
Yes.
many issues to deal with because you know, here you are, you're two of you. You don't know whether your dad is the same. That's
Yes.
basically what you're saying.
Exactly.
So you don't even know whether you should ask him because why would you assume that his dad is the same as yours? You know what I mean?
because we have the scenarios of, you know, a single mom
Yeah, that's-
having even 3 children
Yes,
with
from-
3
exactly.
different fathers.
Yes.
But then again, who do you ask?
Actually, that's quite a
Yeah.
dilemma. That's quite a dilemma, the issue of who to ask. And before we deal, and you know what? That creates a lot of psychological,
It is not easy at all. It is
you know,
not
it's quite
easy.
a problem because
For
you
someone
wonder,
who has not gone through that,
Yes.
they may not understand, or even the parents, the mom herself may not understand what that is doing to me.
yeah.
But any time in life, even forget about the upbringing, whenever you have questions that you cannot find answers to,
Yeah.
it can even create depression.
Yes, it can.
It
It's
can
such
create
a psychological
depression.
burden.
Yes.
Yes.
And especially living in a crowd of people where you feel left out, you feel odd one out, you feel like people people have their lives figured out.
And you're just grappling. At
You're not
the
sure about
basics, you know.
you as in you're not so sure about so many things about yourself. It even affects that. Sometimes it can even affect your self-esteem.
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. And even your identity, because you question
And
who
identity,
am
exactly.
I?
Yes.
You only know one part of the story, like you know, like if it's a family tree, you have no idea of the other side completely, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a mixture of curiosity, a mixture of anxiety. So I can imagine that is very difficult to deal
Yes.
with growing up.
And so I would want to mention now, this is one of the things I was saying my mom might be hearing for the first time. Every time she came for visiting, and you know, she would come in that, you know, she would come in a hurry. You know, let us do this thing very fast because I need to go back to my businesses. You know, for her, every minute was a working minute because she's
Yes.
under pressure. She needs money. She needs money to sort out things, you know.
Bills and payments.
So,
to
number
bring
one,
them.
sometimes she would come late
Yeah.
and leave in a hurry. Okay, I wouldn't be so mean to say it always happened,
Yes.
because even at times she would come with maybe family members to visit me.
But at least she came. You know that those
At
parents
least
first,
she
the first one who
came.
never used to
Yes.
come, and that used to really stress the
Again,
children. You know.
something I would want to mention is that this, because I know we still have those that are still now growing up with single mothers, it is important for you to appreciate them, especially when now you have an understanding of what they might be going through.
Correct.
At that time, I might have, you know, so many
More questions
regrets
than
and questions because I couldn't understand much.
Yes.
Really, at class 6, I couldn't understand much. Actually, my feeling was my mom hates me.
Imagine.
She
can you
has
imagine?
she
And the
has
way she
no
loves
time
you,
for me.
she's trying.
And then when she comes, anytime I mention a list, you know, the way we
I
used to
know
eat,
those list of things I need.
a list of shopping.
Yes.
She had to quarrel me about it.
I know, like, cut this. This is
Must
not
you have
important.
this?
I know.
Must you?
So
Can't we
break
have
into
one
two.
instead of 2?
Yes.
Mommy, I'm tired of buying this. And then
No, you wonder.
most of visiting days I was left crying because it was so heartbreaking, because I'm like, so if I don't tell my mother, including things like sanitary towels, we would bargain about that. They go, why are you asking for so many? You know, some small things, and people take them for granted.
Yes.
I used to cry a lot after visiting days. You know, everyone is so happy they have been visited, and the reasons why I used to cry is because most of the time when she before she leaves, we must quarrel about something.
that list. And it has to come up because
It
you
has
need
to
those
come up.
things. There's no option.
Because I do not know another provider. It's not a scenario where you have two options. A, mom has refused, and so I can go talk to my dad.
And that's the thing. You see, that situation, to be very honest with you, used to happen even for children with both father and mother.
Yes.
But now the thing
They
is,
felt they have an option.
there was an option. Like now, if you find like your father is very strict, you'd find even in pocket money, you'll find your mom will give you an extra 100 shillings or something on the side to balance it. Or if your dad says, or if your mom says, don't buy this, your dad will do something. But for you, you don't have that. So you only just have to deal with this one person. There's no other person. And most times, spouses tend to be opposite. So if you find your dad is so harsh on this, you find your mom
This
is
other
soft.
one is cooler.
Yeah. So for you, there's that like
There's
balance
that balance.
that
Yes.
lacks.
There's that balance.
No wonder you would think that your mom doesn't love you, that she hates you because of that. Yet it is a common thing, always being told to
But
to
you
slap,
see, with a small understanding, then
Yes.
that was going
That's
to
how
be
you-
the feeling.
Exactly.
Yes, that's how I
Yes.
felt.
Yes.
And so, even when it came to closing days, let me tell you, I never used to look forward to that. The way people are so excited.
Yes, time to go
It's holiday, we are going. Because I'm thinking, God, I think I'm more peaceful in school. Because now I'm going back home to a house where I have to be quarreled every day. My mom has a problem with everything and everyone. Anything you mention, it has to be. And then the small free time you have to be at her business. You have to be
That's another
sitting
thing that I
there.
want to talk about. The being on one income as a family. Of course, it can happen even when both parents are there, in case of a job loss, or in case one parent doesn't have a family, doesn't have a job or something, one of the parents. But now for you, that is the entire life. And of course, you'd have to come in and help.
Exactly,
Yeah?
exactly.
From what age did you need to work?
As early as I think class 4, class 5. I used to go to her business.
Yeah,
And
you could
even
actually-
before.
you could manage.
Yeah, and I would manage.
You are responsible like that. I mean, I'm saying
I
it
just
also in a
had to.
positive way, but I'm sure it has a con.
I just had to be.
You had to be.
I just
That's
had to
true.
be.
Yeah.
So somehow, of course, now growing up, you appreciate that molded you in a positive way.
Yeah.
But when you are going through that, it wasn't funny.
You didn't actually appreciate it at all, and you feel like your childhood is being robbed of you because you should be playing or
Yes, because at the time when I have now my age mates,
Yes.
they are out there probably just maybe hanging out, doing
Being
some
up to no good,
funny,
whatever,
just age,
Being
every
childish,
age. Yeah,
yes.
exactly. I was robbed of that because I couldn't.
Yeah, you
I had to sit at that business, and then even at that business, I was limited as of who is supposed to visit me, because if she dared found
boy,
a male friend there,
One to you.
that was going to be war.
I can imagine.
Because
I think growing up, our parents' greatest fear.
And I
is
think because of
becoming
her
pregnant.
experience,
Yes.
she used to feel that there's no way I can allow my girl, it to happen to her. Because I think every time, our parents.
I know. I understand.
Whenever
100%.
I'm raising a girl and I see a boy near her, the next thing I'm seeing is pregnancy.
I know. It's like even just osmosis, just talking,
So
it could happen.
she was too protective, too protective.
Yeah.
Maybe it helped me in a way,
Yes.
but again, it came as
It was
a
like
disadvantage.
double-edged
Yes.
sword, there's pros.
Yes.
Now you can appreciate it in some ways, but when you're going through it,
When I was going through it, it wasn't easy.
it wasn't. Yes.
Yeah. But what I can advise parents, single parents who maybe you're there, you're raising a teenager, because I deal with so many teenagers when I go for high school missions.
Yes.
Because today I do high school missions. That is the ministry I do.
Okay.
And I share my story with them a lot.
Yes.
And you realize most of them will tell you they no longer want to see their parents, they hate their parents. And when you listen to their stories, you will realize it is nothing, it's something close to what I went through.
Yeah, very
And it's
true.
just that they are not able to understand
Yes.
what their parents
Are going.
going through
The
right
challenges
now,
they also
especially the ones that are growing up in broken families,
Yes.
broken marriages, yeah. And so trying to make them understand that your parent does not hate you. They're just trying to be protective.
They also
They
just try
love
to
you.
cope
And
also.
then they are also going through issues
Yes.
with their broken marriages and whatever relationships they are trying to work out. And so they happen to be pouring that out to you, but they do not hate you.
Yes.
So trying to make a teenager understand that.
Yeah.
Because me at some point I was convinced. Actually, you see, I resemble my mother. When you see her, you can see me, yeah?
Yes.
But it got to a point I doubted she was my mom.
And it's so obvious because of how you look alike. So you start wondering, am I adopted or am I like, did
Actually,
you pick me up from?
when I gathered some courage,
Yes.
I once called my auntie, a sister of hers, and asked her, by the way, why does my mom hate me so much?
You actually made that call.
And by the time I was making that call, I
You
was
can imagine the
depressed,
turmoil.
I was broken, I was going through a lot.
What did your aunt respond? Do you remember?
She was so shocked at once.
And yeah.
And she was like, no, she does. She's a born again auntie. And of course, she gave me a positive
She
feedback.
sort of
Yeah,
mentored you in
yeah.
a nice
She
way.
tried to talk to me about it. But by the time I was getting to that point, I was feeling no. There is no parent can be treating their child like this.
Yeah.
You don't want me to hang out with my friends.
Yeah,
You
the
don't
pressure
want
was too
me.
much.
You always you quarreling. What is your problem? You know.
The pressure was too much. And guess what? We need to take a short break.
Okay.
Viewer, we'll be right back. Keep it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a card that makes paying for almost everything easy like ABCs. No need to make trips to the ATMs to withdraw money or carry cash around. That's the Equity Bank Visa card, accepted everywhere you see the Visa sign. Use it to pay for food and drinks, fuel, shopping, pay for your Uber ride, shop online, travel and hotel bookings, and so much more. Pay conveniently and free of charge. Card security is guaranteed thanks to the chip and PIN technology that protects your card from fraud. Start paying with your Equity Bank Visa card now and enjoy the convenience of not carrying cash.
How many of you use your real names on Facebook? Wengine ni Sweetie Pretty.
You must succeed in being an eagle and not a chicken.
I'm seeing myself owning the biggest media house in Africa. Yes, I could employ you, in fact. Yes.
All right, now it is going to another direction. But that's a question.
When you are born and when you grow up, now you do the work. You become a person who likes the country. You understand, right? I mean, not getting a job at Kenya Power, right?
And you know what? Who you are online is exactly who you are offline. And who you are offline is who you are online.
네, 여러 군데 가서 강연을 많이 해보는데
So I've been to many places to give lectures.
우나일레와 사와사와 이러면
Whenever I say "Unaile sasa,"
눈썹으로 인사를 대답을 해요.
they respond with their eyebrows.
Hi, my name is Zawadi. At Mahanaim, I studied to qualify for the IGCSE through the Cambridge International Educational Program.
We Mahanaim International High School students enjoy extracurricular activities such as joining GBS TV Club, Taekwondo, cultural dance, orchestra, swimming, foreign languages, community service, and much more. I believe this unique experience I gained here will go a long way into strengthening the future me.
The teachers and other ministers at Mahanaim spared no pain in running with us until the end of the mile, until we secured all of our goals. And that's how I passed my IGCSE exams.
Mahanaim International High School cares about my future. Beyond our education, Mahanaim nurtures us to have bright and healthy mind so that we could become great future leaders.
And this is G Radio.
Hello guys, guys, and welcome. This is G Radio, #1 TV show, and we're coming live at GBS TV. And I'm your host, Isaac Tabitha.
I'm the co-host, Evan Tinyari. And as usual, we have our DJ Deco. You can also send your views on my Instagram page and Tinyari_Eva.
And also you can get me on our Facebook page as Isaac Tabitha. Thank you so much, guys.
Keep it here.
People have dominance over themselves. Why? Daddy, no money. Give me money, I'll buy for you. Hey, Daddy, I say I don't have money. Hey, I know, Daddy.
Can the Ethiopian change his skin? Or the leopard its spots?
예수님이 우리의 모든 죄값을 다 지불하시기 때문에 예수님 다 이루었다라고 말씀하셨잖아요.
So Jesus paid for all the wages of our sin. That's why he could say it is finished.
Yesu alipa mshahara wa dhambi deni zetu lote, ndiposa akasema kwamba imekwisha.
Everyone, God is like the supercomputer.
Upendo wa Mungu ni kama hii supercomputer.
Towards the end of 1994, Money Magazine published a story about the sharp rise in consumers shopping from home.
That same year, 60 million consumers made $98 billion worth of purchase from home.
And nearly all of it through phone orders prompted by mail catalogs and TV shopping channels.
We as the GBS TV
home shopping fraternity, we adhere to this.
Home decor,
fashion,
food stuff,
and books.
What you see is what you get.
Everywhere, GBS.
Everywhere, GBS. Welcome back, viewer. Today we're talking about growing up in a single-parent family, and we have a lady in studio who was raised in such a home, and we're just looking at the pros and cons. So, and we'll get back right into it. So, Mary, once again, thank you so much for coming to share with us. This
You're
is
welcome.
something that is very interesting to hear about, and I know that our viewer is getting encouraged and is learning, especially the ones who are going through that, whether they are the single parent or the child.
Yeah, sure.
So, one of the things that we've talked about is that there's a lot of curiosity, and lucky for you, you've had a few instances where you've actually seen your dad, and you've also interacted with your mom, and some of your questions have been answered.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you encourage children to ask and
Yes.
parents to respond, or how do
Yes.
you deal with that murky situation in a way that is manageable for both the parent and the child?
What I would encourage is that, especially for the parents, it is always easier when it comes from the parent.
Yes.
It is the right of every child to get to know their parents.
Yes.
Whether the mom, the dad.
Okay.
So I would encourage that, should you find yourself in that situation, just make sure you answer these questions. Tell your child about it.
Yes.
Tell them why they are having a mom and there is no dad.
Okay.
Just let them know. You may not give them all the details, but as they grow up, keep giving, giving them more information. Because if you don't give them information, they will try and look for this information out there.
Yes.
And most of the time, they might not get the right information, the right answers.
Yes.
And for some, like me, they might just decide to die with them,
Yeah,
like
then
never
the
ask,
questions,
because they
yes.
do not know where to ask. So it is okay for you to tell your child what happened to the dad.
Yes.
Yeah, the earliest that you can.
Yes.
Then for the children now, especially now the teenagers, those of my age, I think it is important for you to ask your parents.
Okay.
Ask them. Ask your mother. I have only known you since I was born. Where is my father?
Did you ever have a moment in your life that you can remember where you asked that? to your mom?
No.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? That's what I want to bring out. Yeah.
It is not easy because you're also thinking about her.
Yeah.
If
How will
I
she
ask
take
her,
it?
what will that, what will that trigger in her? So you're thinking about so many things even before asking her. But create an atmosphere. And I can also encourage, if you're not in a position to ask your parent, get someone who is able to approach them. Get maybe an auntie, a close friend to your parent, and let them know how you feel.
Yes, because it's easy sometimes to talk about it with somebody else, the one who's not your mom, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah, you sort of circumvent it and hope that it will work out well.
Yes. I believe there is always a way out. Talk to them, and let them talk to your mom, your dad, whoever it is that you need to talk to, and get answers for these questions. It is going to help you. It is also going to help, as your mother, like I have realized, as my mother talks about it, she's also healing.
Oh, yes, that's true. It's therapeutic both ways.
Yeah, it helps in healing. It has also given me a lot of confidence.
Yes.
Growing up, I had self-esteem issues because I didn't have a sense of belonging. I do not know. It comes with a lot of void.
Yes.
A lot of void.
Okay.
So just talk about it. It helps to heal. And that is why today I go to those high schools and share with these kids my story. And every time I talk about it, I get to heal,
Yeah, you also get to heal.
It may not fill up the void,
but it reduces it.
But it reduces, it
Yes,
heals.
that's
So
healing,
I would
yes.
encourage those conversations a lot. You need that closure.
Yes.
Like right now, I have already talked to my mom a while back. She's aware, and I'm happy to know that she's willing to actually let me meet my dad. So I know that opportunity is there. I may not meet him to, have that relationship right now.
Yes.
It might be a bit too late for me,
course.
but just having that closure,
Yes.
it is going to help me even as I get into the next stage in my life. Because again, and we need to mention that for some of us, it has been a challenge trying to interact with men.
Yes, we needed actually to talk about that. How with the opposite sex, it interferes with that.
It interferes a lot. Because remember, you grew up knowing that you're not supposed to be, men are bad.
Yeah,
men
you're
are going
overprotected.
to I'm overprotected. You get?
Yes.
And then finally I am out here in this world where I have men around me.
Yes.
And I cannot live alone forever.
You can.
You get? So in as much as I have that fear of what if I get in there, and then we end up breaking up, and then I end up as a single mother. Like my mother, and then imagine seeing myself go through what my mom went through. So it comes with that fear, yes.
Yeah.
But again, if you have the right mentorship, that is why it's, I don't know whether we mentioned that in case you're in that situation, it is, and for some reason your kid is not able to have the dad present, the dad has to be absent, introduce them to some father figure.
Yes.
For them to fill in that void. Because there is a void as a mother you will not feel. Even if you provide for this baby and give them everything they need.
There's a limitation.
There is a limitation, especially psychologically, emotionally. There is a void that as a mother you cannot fill. And so if there is a father figure in their lives, like you mentioned, a grandfather, an uncle, someone, it helps later, especially when now they need to interact with the opposite sex.
Guess what, Mary? You need to give a pattern shot because time is up.
Oh my God, it's okay, it's okay.
But already what you're talking about is already like a pattern shot.
So let me just conclude by saying it is important to have a closure. Introduce your kids, let them meet their dads, let them meet their mothers, have that closure, and encourage those conversations because they bring about healing.
Well done. Thank you so much, Mary. It's been such a pleasure to just hear this story from your side. And thank you, viewer, for joining us. Remember to subscribe, GBS TV Kenya. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.